Baldur's Gate 3 has been in early access since November 2020 and has changed so much since then. Thanks to semi-regular patches from Larian Studios, Baldur's Gate 3 has had a real glow-up, and there's a lot more to do in this early access chunk of gameplay than ever before. We're talking entirely new classes, quests, gameplay mechanics, NPC behaviour, dialogue, character builds. Just a ton of content that you won't have had a chance to experience if you've only played Baldur's Gate 3 when it first came out. To get you back into the sword-swinging, spell-hurling or sneaky stabbing rhythm of it all, here's 9 reasons you need to replay Baldur's Gate 3. NPCs have a lot more to them now, and I'm not just talking about Shadowheart, who's got a Mariana Trench's worth of depth since Baldur's Gate 3 early access launched. After you convince an NPC to let some dubious behaviour of yours slide, they now keep an eye on you for a while to make sure you don't dive back into your nefarious deeds. Those of you who delight in being caught, I know you're there, I can see you.
Hello.
Can drink in all that suspicion in more detail thanks to a revamp of narrative cinematics.
Get her soul coin back.
One of the many faces you'll see lit up in the cutscenes is Shadowheart, and this segue is clumsy as hell, but now I can talk about our dark-haired elf friend. At last, you can free her in the tutorial area. Seeing her in that thing, but being unable to help, was mildly frustrating before, yet now you can be the subject of her cold derision even earlier in the game. Huzzah. Hidden underneath that stony glare are more details about her background, which can be uncovered by new dialogue with her once you recruit her as a companion. Plus, you can find out more about this thing she has on her. That alone made me want to boot Baldur's Gate 3 up again, because seriously, what the hell is it? Why does anything need to be that pointy? In earlier versions of Baldur's Gate 3, it could feel like you were beholden to the whims and fancies of the RNG gods whenever you rolled that dice. Brand new active roll system aims to change that by giving you actual real power over how your dice rolls go. Alter the fate of those dice by using you, or your companions, spells and items to add modifiers and effects to each roll, so you don't run the risk of failing so catastrophically hard on a critical roll. Active roll might not be quite enough for you, so there's also the added option to enable loaded dice, which will, quote, smooth out the extremes of the bell curve of dice rolls. What this means is that although there is still RNG, you're less likely to get strings of bad luck, or good luck mind you, when you roll that d20. So if you want a more merciful Dungeon Master AI behind the scenes and got frustrated with the unlucky side of RNG the first time you tried Baldur's Gate 3, it's well worth revisiting with loaded dice turned on. Now, this is for those of you who were kinda at a loss about what to do with the controls when you first started Baldur's Gate 3, and didn't have the benefit of having already played Divinity Original Sin 2. Side note, please go play Divinity Original Sin 2, my god that game is phenomenal. Anyway, to help newcomers to Baldur's Gate 3, there are now extra tutorial messages for combat that explain the basics, and tutorial tips for how to use inspiration points. To get you off to a better start if you're of the cleric or rogue persuasion, clerics now start with more dexterity so they can use medium armour, and rogues start with more intelligence so you have an easier time going down the arcane trickster path if you wish. All this helps beginners or those starting with a new build to get into Baldur's Gate 3 quicker, and I am exceptionally cool with that. Part of Baldur's Gate 3 character creation rite of passage is picking your background, and, with patch 5, these have added significance. Secret side quests await with each background you pick that let you go into more depth about the background of your characters, just in case that wasn't obvious. As a reward for completing each one, you get a single inspiration point, which will come in mighty handy if you need to redo a dire die roll. but these only seem to apply to dialogue checks. Delve deep enough into your backstory via these secret background quests and you'll reach the limit of 4 inspiration points, 1 per quest, but there's no deterrent from doing more background side quests. Anytime you complete one, surplus inspiration points get turned into XP instead, edging you ever closer to that level up. Delicious. Worm your way even more into your character's head and vie for space with that mind flayer parasite with the new point-and-click dialogue system. Using this added feature, you can see right inside your character's brain as they give you their thoughts on the world, story, and environment, with dialogue depending on where you are in the story and who you're playing as. Some of us do prefer the seen and not heard approach for our characters though. Gordon Freeman, Link, and Chell prove you don't need to be constantly nattering away, so you can make this point-and-click dialogue system less frequent in the options if you wish. Rogues, pay attention. There are now resources that support sneak builds in Baldur's Gate 3. They might not be as in-depth as you had hoped for, but it does reward us quieter folk for going about our business and not constantly having our hands drenched in blood or clenching a dagger that so happens to be stuck in someone's back. Avoiding combat will reward you with XP, meaning you're not losing out on precious experience by being smart enough to de-escalate before it comes to blows. Sneaky so-and-sos can also use dash while sneaking to cover some extra ground, so that's also neat. This is the big one. An entirely new class awaits in Baldur's Gate 3 for those who haven't played it since launch, and that new class comes in many forms. Ravens, direwolves, cats, badgers, and even a mind flayer flavoured aberrant shape, all distilled into the Druid. 2 playthroughs are definitely possible with the Druid too, as there are 2 circles you've got to choose between once you reach level 2, which are basically subclasses. On one hand, you've got the Circle of the Land, and on the other, probably Taloned or Pawed hand, you have the Circle of the Moon. I'll make it real simple for you. Circle of the Moon is the favourite for most people as it's all about beefing up your wild shape ability by turning it into a bonus action instead of a standard action, meaning you have a whole action to spare during your turn after or before turning into animal form. Niftily, it also adds an extra animal to turn into, the polar bear. It's a tank, a pure, beefy, fluffy tank. Also on the cards is the Lunar Mend spell, which heals you in wild shape form. Circle of the Land is a lot more meh in my not so humble opinion. I mean, have you met me? Giving you an extra cantrip and the natural recovery ability, letting you get back 1 expended spell slot each day. However, if you're more into casting spells than turning into animals, Circle of the Land is more your vibe. The Druid can also, join conversations as an animal now, so that's fun.
Alright. It's only fair that you enjoy it too.
Playing Baldur's Gate 3 with friends now has an extra added feature that'll let you catch your buds in a lie or simply satisfy your nosiness, as you can now see other players' equipment, spells, inventory, and character sheet. This comes with the ability to take and place things from and into their inventories, so you can really mess with them if you want to. Or you could be kind and leave some secret healing items in their inventory and take care of each other, which I hear is the thing friends actually do. Like me, you might not be too fond of the idea of someone being able to mess with your stuff, but, fellow curmudgeon, we'll have to wait until a future patch for a lock function that'll keep stray hands out of our stuff. It's not implemented yet, but Larian promises it is coming. Until then, be careful of fickle friends. Lastly, there are 14 new spells to play around with and inevitably cause a bit of friendly fire. Added to the game is Entangle. Channel poison ivy and animate vines, weeds, and creeping roots to snare and restrain your foes in a specific area. Flameblade. Summon a scimitar of flame, shedding bright light around you and swinging it to scorch enemies. Moonbeam, create a damaging pillar of radiant moonlight. Produce flame. Light dark areas with this flickering flame in your palm, illuminate torches and emoliate patches of flammable liquid, and the poor fools caught within. Shillelagh. When more powerful spells fail the druid, this cantrip imbues a melee weapon like a club or staff with glowing energy and makes it hit much harder. Thorn Whip. This prickly vine lasso cuts your enemies and yanks them closer to you. A favourite of most druids in my experience. Bark Skin. The druid turns their skin, or an ally's, as hard as the bark of an oak tree. Enhance ability. Give an ally or yourself Bear's Endurance, Bull's Strength, Cat's Grace, Eagle's Splendour, Fox's Cunning, or Owl's Wisdom. Flaming Sphere. A ball of fire that sticks around, druids can keep this blazing orb rolling into the path of their foes. Good Berry. These berries grant some healing that can be carried in your inventory or eaten right away. Heat Metal. Superheating metal can have harmful or even deadly effects, especially if an opponent of yours is wearing that metal, if you get my drift. Protection from Poison. This spell neutralizes toxins in the blood and also acts as a silver bullet against all known forms of poison. And finally, Spike Growth. Druids can transform nearby terrain into a nest of barbs that slows and damages their foes. With these spells, you've got a fun new way to torment your enemies and ensure that any blood drawn does not come from your precious veins. And that's 9 reasons you need to replay Baldur's Gate 3. If you enjoyed the video, thanks very much, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Eurogamer for more videos about video games, as we have a new one out every single day. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go, so remember to stay hydrated, folks, and I'll see you next time.